All right, so the Post-its that I just passed out to you, I want you to take it and I want you to cover up that last line right there. No peeking. Resist the urge. Just cover up that line. Resist that urge to look. Did you do it?
Well,
You look
I
worried.
had to because I was putting it on.
Oh, good job. Okay. All right, so we're going to apply our 3 reads strategy here. First thing is I want you to read the problem with me. Are you ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1. The width of a rectangle is 2 centimeters less than 8 times the length. The perimeter is 68 centimeters. All right, so let's review this protocol. That first read, remember who does the first read?
You.
I do. Teacher. Who does the second read?
Everyone.
Good, all together. And who does the third read?
Us.
By yourself, independent. All right, so equations. This is where things get a little complicated with our equations because now not only do you have to be able to read the word problem and understand what it wants you to do, but you got to start using variables. You got to pull out all those pieces and turn it into that equation. And so it might be your first time doing that. It might be a little tricky to figure out how the pieces fit together. So this idea of a 3 read, of knowing that we're going to have to do a visual representation, is very helpful. When we did, let's see if I go back, this was lesson 2. Do you remember this lesson where we did the family, the Robinson family, and they each got a soda, 2 slices of pizza, and an ice cream cone?
Yeah.
Now there were 4 family members, and so there's the 4 in front of the parentheses, but we used pictures to represent each thing that they were getting. And so pictures are very helpful when we're trying to figure out how to put it all together. If you can see what's happening and where it is, you're more likely to be able to put it back together. So pictures are good. So I'm going to read this, and then you're going to talk to your neighbor. I know there's not a ton happening in here, but if you can tell your neighbor what's going on in this problem without reading it directly, you'll have a better understanding of it. So the width of a rectangle is 2 centimeters less than 8 times the length. The perimeter is 68 centimeters. Please turn to your table members and retell what's happening in the problem. Do that now, please.
Is 2 centimeters less than what the length is times 8, and that is 68 centimeters. We might have to find the length first. That's totally.
All right, 3, 2, 1, silence. All right, so let's build our word bank. There's a lot of smaller words here, but a lot of words that there's probably common confusion about. So if I go phrase by phrase, the width of a rectangle, what would you pull out? Width? Yeah? I'd pull out width. It's also kind of a weird word to say. You know what? I'd pull out rectangle as well. Because there are still some people who confuse rectangles with squares. It happens, so let's make sure we're clear on that.
Centimeters?
Is 2 centimeters less than 8 times the length?
Less than?
That phrase, less than.
That means subtract.
But not everyone recognizes that. Anything else that you'd pull out?
Length?
Length. Anything else?
Perimeter?
Leo?
The perimeter?
Totally, perimeter. How many times do I ask you what perimeter is and you're like, is that area? Which one is it? It's a consistent thing that we forget, so let's definitely pull that one out. Okay, starting with the idea of width and length. I want you to think of my whiteboard as a rectangle here. Okay? we have, here's a side and the opposite side, and then we have the top and we have the bottom. If I were to ask you to tell me which one is the width and which one is the length, what would you say the sides are? The width or the length?
The width.
All right, who says width? Who says length? Okay, here's the thing. Depending on your perspective of the whiteboard, like if I were to pop it off the wall and lay it on the ground, the sides that I would determine as length versus width might change. Because it's no longer, mounted to the wall, it's on the floor, and the way I look at it is different. But generally, when we're having a conversation with someone and we're trying to use mathematical words and be on the same page so we're not confused, because if I think that this is the width, if I'm talking about the width and I think it's this side, but then like Caesar's talking to me about it and he thinks the width is this side, we're gonna have a confusing conversation, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because if I say the width is 4 centimeters and I'm thinking about this, but he's thinking about this, we're gonna create a very weird looking whiteboard, aren't we? Okay, so we need to be on the same page and be thinking about how do we communicate to each other about which sides we're identifying as length and width. Generally, this would be seen as the width. How wide is it? Whereas this would be the length. How long is the whiteboard? Length, width. Length and width. Length and width. Do it with me, guys. Length and width. Length and width. You feel like a magician?
No.
Length and the width. The length and the width. Right? Yeah, thank you. All right, so the width. Let's show this as going up and down and our length as side to side. Again, if the whiteboard were to change perspective, if we were looking at it a different way, we could technically reverse these, but let's all be on the same page. We are seeing the width as top of going straight up and down, and the length is going from left to right. Rectangle. What's the difference between a rectangle and a square? Oh, okay. America?
That a square has like equal sides and a rectangle doesn't.
Perfect. So let's draw ourselves a little rectangle to remember that it has 2 sets of parallel sides. 2 sides are shorter than the other 2, and that's what makes it different from a square. And then just as Angel said, what does this phrase less than mean? Subtraction. Subtraction. And perimeter?
Outside.
It's the outside. So let's draw an arrow measuring around the outside. Taking all the outside measurements and adding those together. That's perimeter.
I'm gonna put like an adding sign.
Say that again?
Adding sign in the middle.
Beautiful. I like it. Additive. Okay. So now we're going to read it again all together and then do a visual representation of this. So read with me, please. 3, 2, 1.
The width of a rectangle is 2 centimeters less than 8 times the length. The perimeter is 68 centimeters.
So our visual. Let's do our rectangle. It's clear to see it. Oh, I said let's draw a rectangle. All right, so now when I go back up here, the width of a rectangle is 2 centimeters. So we have width and length. And so down here we identified that the width is going to go up and down and the length is going to go left to right. We're all on the same page with that. The width of the rectangle is 2 centimeters less than. So we're talking about the width, and less than means subtraction. So I'm going to draw a subtraction sign. My job is to figure out what goes on this side, what goes on this side. Those are our missing pieces. I know I'm subtracting because it says less than. But it's like a puzzle. I got to find the puzzle pieces and put them in the right spot.
X plus X.
So we have 2 less than 8 times the length. 8 times the length. 8 times the length and 2 less. So down here, 8 times the length, can we just keep that L as the variable?
Yeah.
All right, so let's say that it is 8 times the length minus 2. What we need to be careful of here is sometimes we think that the order of the words then means the order of the numbers and the symbols. And so you see 2 less than 8 times the length. And so you think it goes 2 less than 8 times the length. Well, think about what subtraction means. Subtraction means that you're subtracting whatever is coming after the subtraction symbol. So are we subtracting 8 times the length? Or are we subtracting the 2? It says 2 less. Sorry, 2 less. And so if it's 2 less, we have to make sure that we are showing that we are subtracting the 2 and not the 8L. So we don't want this one. Sometimes the order of the words is not the order of the numbers. And that's why your reading is very important, because the better of a reader you are, the more you're going to recognize how the numbers fit in to those missing puzzle places. Your reading matters a lot. So if you haven't been putting very much focus on your Lexils, maybe now would be a good time to do that. All right, now we need to do perimeter. No, we have perimeter, don't we?
Yeah.
What is the perimeter?
68 centimeters.
68 centimeters. And so that means that if I do the length plus the width plus the length plus the width, it'll give me 68 centimeters. All right, so now your last read, you're going to go back through and you're going to read the problem again to yourself, and you're going to come up with what types of questions might be asked here. I'll do one with you, and then I want you to see if you can come up with another one. Let's see, if I read this to myself, the width of a rectangle is 2 centimeters less than 8 times the length. The perimeter is 68. So I don't know what the width is. I don't know what the length is. I know what the perimeter is. So a logical question might be to actually just find what is the width. What's the width? I mean, I have clues, but I don't have actual answers. And so a question would probably be, find the actual number. So go ahead and you can write down my question, but I want you to try and come up with another question. What else could be under that Post-it? Don't look. Okay, anybody have a question they'd like to share? Come on, can you bring Kelson?
What is the lake?
Okay, perfect, simple, sweet, to the point. Ethan?
Find the length and the width, then find the area.
Okay, multi-step question, I like it. Good, Emmy?
What is the area?
Okay, perfect. So to find the area, so yours was all the pieces, yours was one, but you'd have to find the length and the width in order to find yours, wouldn't you? Lots of pieces. What you got?
What is the length and the width?
Oh, nice. What you got?
What is the length of the rectangle?
Okay, perfect. America?
Will the perimeter change if the length is 23?
Would the perimeter change if the length were 23?
Yeah.
Okay. What you got?
If the length is 16 centimeters,
Ooh, good job. Diego?
What is the length? Length if the width would be 10.
What would the length be if the width were 10?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the perimeter still 68? Oh, okay. All right. Make sure that if you change that, add that into your question. But if it's the same, then that's fine. But do you know?
I'm not checking.
Okay. Leo?
If the length of a rectangle is 8 and the perimeter is 68 centimeters, what would be the total width?
Very nice job. Very good. Just your clap, please. All right. Now, let's see what the actual question was. Lift up your Post-it. What was the question?
What is the width and length of a rectangle?
All right. No area,
I was really close.
but I like the area question. We're going to find length and width. So first, from our paper here, we've done all of this lovely brain work here. We're just going to transfer it to our notebook real quick. And so we're doing the width of a rectangle, 2 centimeters less than 8 times the length. Perimeter is 68 centimeters, and the question, width and length. We have to find 2 pieces here. So what did we know? We know that, what did we decide on? The width is 8 times the length minus 2. And the length is just L for length. We also know that perimeter is 68 centimeters. Is there anything else that we know?
Subtract a rectangle.
We are subtracting. I have the subtraction symbol, but maybe let's make a note that to find perimeter, you have to add all what? What do we-
Sides.
Add all sides. See, some of us already kind of lost it. And what do we need to know? We need to find the width and the length. Put that down. Okay, so for our planning and workspace, let's draw that rectangle.
Looks like a square.
It's a rectangle. I'm going to label the sides and you will see that it is a rectangle. Okay, make yours look like a rectangle. So on one side we have 8L minus 2, and on the other side we have just L. I know that perimeter is 68 centimeters. On our Q column, let's make some notes about the vocabulary that we did. And so width, width we decided for this problem is top to bottom. And the length is side to side. The words less than, what did those mean?
Subtraction.
Less than means subtraction. And then we're probably likely to forget perimeter again, so let's put perimeter in. Perimeter means to add around. You put your addition sign in the center. So let's put this together. If we want to find the perimeter, that means we're going to do the width plus the length plus the width plus the length. Okay, that's going to result in a really long equation. Let's think about how we can shorten that a little bit, Mr. Torres.
The perimeter.
Okay. All right. Ethan, any ideas?
You can, once you find the length and width, you can just want to like two of the axes.
If the thing I know about a rectangle is that the two sides are the same and the top and the bottom are the same, L plus L, isn't that just 2L?
Yes.
2 L's. If these two sides are the same, this is 8L, Alexis, minus 2, but it's twice. So can I just do 2 parentheses 8L minus 2? And this is why we learn distributive property, because each of these numbers inside the parentheses is going to be distributed with the 2. And if we're adding all the pieces, what operation goes in the center of those two pieces?
Addition.
Addition. Okay. Now the whole thing, so this is 2 of the lengths, the top and the bottom, plus 2 of the sides, and they both equal, what's the total perimeter?
68.
68. All right, let's distribute. 2 times 8 is? Come on, people, you do know your multiplication tables.
60 now.
And 2 times a minus 2 is?
Minus 4.
Come on, sound like you know what you're talking about. 2 times a minus 2.
Minus 4.
Minus 4. Copy down that 2L, and all of it equals 68. And then let's find our like terms to combine. What can we put together?
The 6L and the 2L. I mean the 16.
Tell someone at your table, what can we put together?
16.
Combine. 2L and
Minus 4.
what else has an L attached to it? Oh, the plus 16L. Okay, this is combining like terms. What's 2 plus 16? 18. So this is 18L minus 4 equals 68. Now we can just follow our inverse operations. We're going to start with our adding or subtracting. I see a minus 4. What's the opposite?
Addition.
We're going to plus 4 to each side. Remember, do it on both sides of the equal sign. We got to keep it balanced. If we don't do it to one side, then we've got all the weight. We're going to go whoosh. Okay, we want to stay balanced. So that that cancels out. And so we have 18L equals, what's 68 plus 4?
72.
72. What comes next?
Division.
Division by the 18. And this is where you can pull out your calculator. I'm fine with that. What's 72 divided by 18? Who's got it? Don't tell me all at once, people. Come on now. 72 divided by 18. Don't blame it on the iPad. Diego? S1? Dora? Anyone else? 4. Good. Thank you. So L equals 4.
I don't blame it on it.
All right. So now if we have L, we know the length is 4, so I can fill that in. And then for the width here, I want to do, let's see, I'm going to rewrite this up here. So this is 8 times 4 minus 2. Order of operations says multiply first. What is 8 times 4?
32.
32. What's 32 minus 2?
30.
And so now we have both sides. We have the width is 30, and the length is 4. It's almost like this whiteboard was flipped. Because the length that we identified as the long one, it ends up being the shorter one. It's 4. It's tiny. It's like it took this whole thing and it flipped it. So my solution here is, what was the actual question? What is the width and length of the rectangle? The width is 30 centimeters, and the length is 4 centimeters. My goodness, there's a lot of work going on here. Okay, make it clear. Box your answer. America?
We're Where did you get the 4 from?
As in 4 centimeters?
Yeah.
Okay, so we found out, solving my equation here. I combined the 2L and the 16L to get 18L, but the rest of it's minus 4. Add 4 to both sides, and I get 18L equals 72.
Okay.
Divide both sides by the 18. 72 divided by 18 is 4.
Oh, okay.
So now I know I'm solving for L. L is the length. If 4 is L, 4 is the length.
Okay, yeah, because I got a little bit confused.
That's okay. I know there's a lot going on here. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit here. Word problems. The 3 reads. You have a test on Thursday. Okay, yeah, don't forget about that. Your test on Thursday. You are getting stuck on a problem. And it's not that me coming and like reading a problem for you is going to fix it, but if you can think about, let me identify the words. Let me truly make sure I understand the words in the problem, because if I can clarify this, then I can draw my picture, then I might be able to solve the problem. But sometimes we read questions and we get so locked into, I have to solve the problem right away, that you're not recognizing that they're simple words that you're confusing. And that's why you have a hard time solving problems, because your vocabulary isn't there. You're going to confuse rectangle with square. You're going to confuse perimeter with area. How many times have we accidentally done area instead of perimeter, or perimeter instead of area? Oh, be honest with yourself.
I'll be honest.
You know, we do that. So part of this is like, maybe you're working and you're on your table and you just make a little box for yourself and you start listing those words and making sure you actually know what those words mean. Right, Leslie? Yeah? Okay. Because your comprehension of the vocabulary is what tells you how to do the problem. If you don't know how to do the problem, trace it back to probably the words. You don't know the words. Think about your Lexile level. Are you reading in a 7th grade Lexile? If you're not, you might have some trouble with this, and this is a good strategy for you to start working on. Don't ignore it. Know the words, move into the picture, use the picture to work this out, because the word problems here with these equations, they're not meant to be simple. All right,